Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I bring you guys awesome interviews. And today it is an honor and privilege to have Mr. Johnny Kelly, the well-traveled Johnny Kelly, as I call him. He is the current drummer of Silvertomb. He's also played for Typo Negative. If you don't know who Typo is, then you have sadly missed out on some great music. Kill Devil Hill, a Pale Horse Named Death, and plus the Seventh Void, but he's been with other bands, I'm sure he can tell me. But Johnny, how's it going, man?
How are you? Going well.
Glad to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. It's good to be here.
Let's talk about Silvertomb. So this is a new band that just came together. How'd this form, man?
Well, it's just been announced. I wouldn't say that it just came together. The band's been together for a long time. The band is actually the end result of an extension of what Seventh Void was. We were working on all the songs that are written and everything. The original intent was to work on another Seventh Void record. And as time went on, because there's been so many years since the only Seventh Void release, that was in 2009. Since then, the original guitar player, Matt, left, and Joe came in a few years back, Joe from Agnostic Front. Mm-hmm. And as we were working on the material, the songs started taking a turn. They started getting different elements than what Seventh Void what its original intent was. And we started getting adding keyboards to some of the songs. And it started taking on a different identity and stuff. And so then we brought in a keyboard player his name is Aaron Juice. So now we have a keyboard player, we have another guitar player. So being that so many elements changed in the band and that the music had taken a little bit of a turn, we felt that it would benefit the songs better if we just called it something new and just started, just basically called it a new band, because there were so many things that were different than what Seventh Void originally was.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been 7 years. Yeah, I'm very wrong. Wrong. Yeah. Damn. All right. So it's been 7 years since the metal world hasn't heard much from guitarist and singer Kenny Hickey. I know he's been with you on Seventh Void, but how did he come along with this? I mean, is that true? I mean, 7 years, that's kind of hard to fathom, actually, because I would think he'd be around.
The record came out in 2009.
Wow.
And, at the time, the Typo Negative was still active.
Right.
So we were trying to do something. We were doing something that was outside of Typo Negative scope. We wanted something that was a little bit more stripped down, not having as many textures and layers to it. And as the years have gone on, it started getting more textures and layers, all the stuff that we had been missing from Typo. Some of it has gotten into the new music. But with Kenny's just, I see Kenny and I speak to him all the time. I don't see him as much now because I just recently moved to Texas.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just moved here a month ago. But when I lived in New York, I would see him, and I speak to him frequently. But I guess professionally, he's been off the grid. But he's been working on new music. Like I said, we've been working on this stuff for years. Now it's just we finally found something that we can use as a vehicle to try to push things in a forward motion.
So what about...
Which is the Ride for Dime event that we're playing in a couple of weeks up in New Jersey.
So what about material-wise? Do you guys have songs that didn't necessarily make a Seventh Void album that you're going to bring to Silvertomb? It's going to be just a whole new process?
It started out basically as the Seventh Void record.
Right, okay.
But then as it got more complex than what Seventh Void originally was. And there were different elements to the music. And so then we just changed the name of the band because there's too many things different than what Seventh Void originally was. So we were like, you know what, we're just going to starting from scratch. Going to be a new band, new name, everything's new.
So how'd you get Kenny?
Make sense?
Oh, totally. Wrong, Johnny. Wrong. No.
Wrong. You're wrong.
This is what I like about this guy, folks. He's a down-to-earth guy. You can talk to him, and that's cool. That's what I like about Johnny.
That's wrong.
That's right.
You're wrong. You're wrong again.
Sorry, Trebek. Damn. Oh, that's awesome.
I'm always playing with you. So what were you saying?
So what about Kenny, though? How did you persuade him to come on and say, hey, man, come on and jam with us? Because we're going off the grid that long.
We've been jamming on and off for years.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been as, life gets in the way.
Sure.
Of things sometimes. And that's basically what happened. Kenny, I was out, doing things, playing with other bands, and when I would come home, then we'd fit some schedule. We would schedule some rehearsals in, and we've been working on demos and recording stuff, and I've been doing drum tracks at his house and doing drum tracks at home, and then I would send stuff to the guys, and so even though it seems like not much has been going on, there has been activity.
Right.
It wasn't like Kenny had just walked away from music like the way Josh did. Josh is a paramedic now for the fire department in New York, and that's it. He hasn't touched an instrument at all since. Since the last show that he played with Type O. That was the last time that he looked at his instrument. Everything's still in storage.
Jeez.
But Kenny hasn't been like that. He just hasn't been doing any gigs. He hasn't been out performing or anything, but he's been, working. He's been creative.
Every time when I'd see you, like in, Pale Horse Named Death, and all of a sudden I'd see, when you was in Kill Devil Hill, then you went to A Pale Horse Named Death, and I was like, what the hell? He's all over the damn place.
I try to stay busy.
Sure.
I try to stay busy.
Sure. So you were talking about the Ride for Dime. So Silvertomb will make its first performance on Saturday, August 26th. Yeah. Let's talk about this a little bit. What can fans expect at this, man? And plus the Dime benefit. This is the first annual one for this area, I think.
I believe this is the first Ride for Dime that they're doing in the Northeast.
Right. So,
I know they've been doing it down here in Texas. They've been doing it for a long time. I know that they've done them in Nashville. They've done Dime Bashes in California. I don't know if they've done the actual, the bike ride and stuff. I don't think they have, but I know that they've done, Dime Bash. I've played at one of those.
I'm glad that they're doing that for Dime. I really am.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it's a twofold benefit. It raises money for charity, and it's still, it celebrates the life and the music of Dime and Pantera. So that's fun. The band, when they were together, years ago, they helped us out a lot. They took Type O Negative on tour we did like 3 months with them on the Far Beyond Driven tour. And that was a big benefit for us. That helped us out a lot. Helped us, put our face on the map. And so, for that, I'll always be indebted to all those guys.
I want to say that you guys played on that tour, Huntington, West Virginia.
Probably. We spent a lot of time in Middle America.
Yeah.
There weren't too many standout shows not to discount, don't take it the wrong way, but it didn't seem like there weren't that many A markets. But when you're on the road when you're on tour for 3 months straight, there's only so many A markets, and you cover them, and you have to fill in everything else. And that's where all the Peoria, Illinois, and, the St. Louis's, and the Tyler, Texas's, all that stuff. That's where all that comes in. You're playing somewhere. But we did spend a lot of time in the middle of the country on that tour. And it was always fun, like touring with Pantera is, chaos. And it was, the shows were always great because they were a great live band, and they brought out a lot of fans. And we got to, we got to be a part of that.
It's crazy though, Johnny, when I go back and see old flyers, I like to see the old school flyers, and I see Pantera opening for Skid Row, and I'm like, there's something wrong with this.
Well, back then it worked, and that's what helped put Pantera on the map.
It's true.
Back then, whether you liked them or not, there's no denying how successful and big Skid Row was at the time.
That's true. Very true.
To land a tour like that, whether your music's compatible or not, you're going to get to play in front of a lot of people, and that helped us out. We did something similar. Motley Crue took out Type O.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and a year before we toured with Pantera. That was like the first big tour that the band ever did.
Little known facts for Johnny Kelly.
When John Corabi was singing for the band.
Oh wow! Jeez.
Yeah, we were the first band on the bill. It was Typo, King's X, and Motley Crue.
Little known
Our
facts with
manager,
Johnny Kelly.
yeah, this was like, I got that call. I was at work. My manager calls me up and he's like, well, can you get off work? And I was like, well, why? What do you have going on? Because this had already happened. It's like, the record, I'll try to make it short. Just came out. We didn't do anything for it for a long time. Salad left the band. I joined the band. The band, the band's intentions were to not be a touring band. Like it was, don't quit your day job. We're just going to, we'll play locally and, we'll make music. And that's it. Which I was fine with that, because I love the band and I wanted to be in the band. I didn't care if we played one show or a million. So we did a short club tour. We were out for like 6 weeks. I don't know, whatever. It was like a little bit over a month. We came home and everybody went back to work, worked their day jobs. We got a call from Nine Inch Nails. They were doing a short run of small theaters. There was only like 10 shows on the West Coast. And the support band broke up a few days before the tour was supposed to start. So we got a call asking if we would do it. And we jumped in a minivan and drove cross country. But it was only 10 shows. And then we came home, we went back to work, and then we get a call, saying we're going to go out with Motley Crue. I thought it was a joke when it was first brought to me. I was like, we're not going to, this isn't going to work for us at all. You're talking about a band like Motley Crue. How does Typo Negative fit into that kind of bill? We're just going to get hit with things, for a half hour. It was like, who's going to, what Motley Crue fan is going to like a Typo Negative song? Starting with the way that we look and then the way that we sound and stuff. I was like, this is nothing like, girls.
It's right,
nothing at all.
Right.
It was, I was excited on one side because I was, growing up, I was a big Motley Crue fan. Tommy Lee was a big influence of mine, and I loved King's X. And I was like, this is going to be a great night out for me every night for a whole summer. I'm going to watch two of my favorite bands, 60 times. But I didn't want to play at the show. And our manager was like, trust me, this will be a good thing for you guys. And at the end of it, he was right. Nobody wanted us to be on the tour, like Motley Crue's managers or, stuff like that. They were like, why don't you take out a band that could bring some people in? And they were like, no, we like this band. And when they were working on that record, they were listening to Bloody Kisses a lot, and they wanted to take us out on tour.
That's awesome.
They wanted, yeah, it was. It was, it was that part was awesome that that they were into the band and stuff. And then at the end of it, it worked because then people started noticing us. Then we started getting a little bit of airplay in a lot of those middle America cities. That's where Typo really built its fan base. And then that was it. After that tour, the last Motley Crue show, we stayed on the bus. We started doing our own club tour, and we started the very next night. And we were curious, we were wondering what if the Motley Crue tour had done anything for us. We weren't sure. Mm-hmm. We were like, wow, I wonder what it's going to be like, being on our own. And we were playing the basement in Dallas, Texas, and there was a line going around the block.
Wow.
The club was sold out, and they turned away like hundreds of people. And I was looking at the bus. I'm looking out the window of the bus. I'm like, holy shit. Like, look at all these people. Like, they're here to see us. Last time we played on our own in Texas, there was like 30 people.
It just takes that one time. That's all it takes.
Yeah, it helped. And, so, we trying to use some of the similar principles, but, going forward. And, but yeah, so to get back to the whole, Pantera and Skid Row, it happened for them, but it happened for them in a similar way, but on a bigger scale, much bigger scale.
I don't know, man. I think Typo's right up there with Pantera, and that's just my opinion. And I still get folks to this day that email me and say, "Hey, can you play some Typo?" Sure.
Oh no, we definitely made a mark, but it's not as big of a mark as Pantera. You put on Sirius XM, and you could switch through a number of channels, and every other 10, 15 minutes is another Pantera song. I mean, you hear Typo Negative on the radio, but you don't hear it to the extent that you hear, a band like Pantera. That's just the numbers don't lie. It's all about numbers.
Yeah.
When you get into that.
Sadly.
But we made a mark, and I'm proud of that for sure. Considering, it's just a few guys from Brooklyn, we made a little mark for ourselves, and, still run into people, just how many years later, people come up to me often. It's like, like whatever, give me, paying compliments or, whatever, saying that it was a big part of my growing up, your music helped me through a lot, like that kind of stuff. And that never gets old, hearing it. It's when I don't hear it, that's when I'm really going to get worried.
Well, I'll keep playing it on here, that's for sure.
Well, I appreciate it. It's cool. It's cool that people still want to hear it.
Yeah, Black Number One is that's my favorite one by you guys from Typo.
That's cool.
Bloody Kisses is my favorite album. I like the older stuff too, don't get me wrong. But God, I mean, just Bloody Kisses is like, damn.
It struck a chord with a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know, and it's hard to say, to put your finger on it, the pulse of exactly what it was or whatever. I really don't know exactly what it was, but it definitely struck a chord with people.
I think it might have been at the time, man, where everybody was wanting to experience different things with music, and wanted to do their own thing. You know what I mean?
Maybe, because we really were, the band as a whole was always like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
It's true.
And, sometimes that was cool. Sometimes it worked against us, but that's what it always felt like. And, like when you start getting into the record business aspect of it, releasing singles and, doing videos and stuff like that. It's like, how do you go about promoting a band that doesn't fit in? And it was a learning process for everybody, because even with the label wasn't, familiar with experiencing, a band that was starting to take on that kind of success. So everybody was kind of like, going by the seat of their pants. We were just staying on the bus and playing every night, trying to come up with some kind of plan or whatever. I remember back then, it was like, all right, we're going to do this as a single. And then we would always fight, no, that's a bad idea. We don't want that as a single. We want to do this as a single. And they're like, well, this is what's going to help sell records. And we're like, we don't care about that. We want to do something that's cool. And this is what you should do. It's cool.
It's true. True.
And it was always that tug of war, but at the same time, it was a huge learning process for everyone involved. So it was kind of, there was a lot of stumbling, of course. And in hindsight, you can always look back, and it's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say, well, we should have done this instead of that. We should have, this is the first single on this record. Yeah. It's obvious now. It's very easy to say it now, but back then, you have your hunches, and a lot of times, with a lot of stuff like that, we always went with our gut.
Sure.
We weren't trying to think of oh, this is gonna make us a lot of money, because it didn't. It didn't. It made some money, but it didn't make a lot of money.
Right. So what about like for Silvertomb? What record labels have you had anybody reach out so far, or can you talk about it a little bit maybe?
We're just starting to touch on that. We finally, like I said, this whole thing, we've just been off the grid, just working on new music. That's all we've been doing, and now. Now we finally got management, we talked to some booking agents and stuff, for when the time comes. We've talked to a couple of labels. Some people are interested. No, there hasn't been any contract signed or anything like that. None of that has happened yet. It really now is the very beginning of that whole process, making people aware that, that the band exists, who's in the band. We're putting out little snippets of some of the new songs,
some teasers,
and then we'll go from there, and we'll see what happens. And the band's got to play live anyway. So this was a good, this seemed like a cool thing to do to introduce the band. And even with Seven Void, when we started working on that, even before there was a name of the band or anything, we played this stuff for, Vinny and Dime and stuff. And Dime was one of the biggest supporters of what we were doing. He loved it. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty cool that, on his behalf, we get to, start another chapter in this.
So while these
I find that.
Go ahead.
I find that a little special. My little sentimental, moment.
Yeah. What are these folks going to get, Johnny, when they come to see you guys at this show, your guys' first show at this Ride for Dime?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Be prepared.
I hope they're drunk and we sound better. Everybody sounds great when you're drunk. It's the greatest rock show you've ever been to. You can't remember half of it, but that was a damn good rock show.
Yeah.
unless you get beat up and thrown in jail, then you hate that show. That show sucked.
Yeah, it's true. You were talking about you guys are just working on stuff right now, getting everything going. Are you guys possibly want to go the full length route or just put an EP out? And I hope you guys do a full length, in my opinion.
Well, the plan is to do a full length.
Okay.
Like doing EPs and stuff like that. That's when you start getting into the financial aspects of the record business. So, somebody, whoever we sign with, if they feel it's a better idea to start doing things, as an EP, which in this day and age, with the way that, music is, put out there and how it's, it's been devalued a lot, unfortunately, It may or may not make more sense to do it as an EP, put out a few songs each, whatever, every 6 months or, whatever the structure is. I haven't been a part of any release that's been an EP. And there's only been, that I'm aware of, there's only been, a couple of bands that have done the whole EP route, which is, it's still kind of cool. You still get new music and then, the band goes out and supports it and stuff. And then you constantly getting turned on to new music from an artist that you like, instead of something like, just being, whatever, downloaded, you throw it on your phone and then you don't listen to it anymore. Like you run through the record a couple of times, and if something, sticks, then you listen to that one song, but you don't listen to, the whole, album buying and listening experience is totally different than what it used to be. I'm not going to get on the Gene Simmons kick and say that rock is dead, but it's definitely different, and I don't want to get on any kind of soapbox and start preaching, when I was a kid, this is what we used to do, with music, and this is how we used to listen to it and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. It's a different day and age. And you got to find a balance between, what you're working on to have some kind of value and being able to, maintain your dignity.
Sure.
And also to be able to somewhat earn a living to, at least make the money back that you spent on, making it, and there's still, for a band like this and, for people in in our life situations, that's those are some rough waters to navigate right now. We're not going to get, record deals like Typo used to get, where you can, you could afford to just work on your record and you can make a great record and it could sonically be great because you had you could afford to, have better equipment available to you and stuff like that. There's only, you're kind of limited on what you could do on a shoestring budget in your bedroom.
That's true.
And even that, when you're trying to, when you're working with whatever inadequate equipment and you're not working with professional engineers and stuff like that, it'll take you a long time to get good results too, because a lot of it's oh shit, how do I come up with this? How do I do this?
Right.
And you can't afford to pay a guy, hey, I have this idea, and the guy just goes, oh yeah, you need to do this, and blah, blah, blah. It's all right, done. It costs money to make a really good quality product, but the money just isn't there anymore. You have to come up with workarounds.
Well, that leads into the next question, that we're in the digital era of recording albums and plus social media. Do you like this that we're in? I mean, to get stuff out there quicker, and plus for littler bands and things like that. Do you like this that we're in right now, or no?
It has its advantages and disadvantages. One of the disadvantages now is that everybody has the same platform.
Yeah.
So there's so much stuff out there now that's just fucking garbage.
True. True.
And you have to weed through so much shit to find one good, nugget that's worth listening to. Just like now, like with this election, I had no idea that I had so many friends that were political analysts. There's a lot of people out there that think that they're, engineers and producers. So there's you have to weed through a lot of horse shit to get to one good song. you know, and it's one of those things, you know, like I see stuff like if I post on my own social media page, you know, whatever, we're posting stuff about Silvertomb, for instance, you know, we posted it on the typo page. So in the comment section, you know, we're like, you know, we're asking people like, you know, for their opinion on what it sounds like, you know, what do they think of it, you know? And then there's some guy posting links to his video on our thread.
Jeez. What the crap?
I mean, I admire his, like, you know, his go-get-it attitude, you know, by any means necessary. But at the same time, that's the shit that you have to weed through. Now, I didn't listen to the song. Who knows? It could be a great song.
Right.
Odds are it probably isn't. You know, and I'm not saying that to be a dick or anything. Just odds are there that it isn't that good.
I understand.
And that's what you have to weed through now. And I get a lot of that. Here, check my band out. You know, I want, you know, check this out. I want you to check my band out. You know, and it's like, I mean, I can't do anything for these people. You know, I'm not a record executive. I don't have like, you know, like the inroad to, you know, get your record released.
Right.
You know, and if I had it all figured out, I'd be doing it.
Exactly.
I would.
Yeah. You got. I can't post anything.
If I could write hit songs and, you know, like, and have that kind of ear where I say, oh, this is definitely a hit, you know, here, let me make you a star.
Yeah. Or I'll post like a band, or I say I've got this band coming on the show or whatever. They're like, well, I don't like them. Don't fucking listen to them.
Well, yeah, that's
plain and simple.
The tough thing, though, it's like, you know, like when I was younger, you know, you didn't have that many outlets. You know, you only had a few.
It's true.
And that was it. Like, you know, whatever you could get exposed to from, like, you know, Kerrang! Magazine or like Circus and Hit Parader, that's it. And it was, you know, word of mouth. You know, now it's like, you know, oh, check my band out. I got, like, you know, we have, you know, 400,000 likes. Who cares?
Exactly.
You know, and it's, you know, that's the part that's frustrating about it. But the good part is, you know, yeah, when you're trying to launch something and you're trying to get interest and you're trying to get a record deal, there is that off chance that somebody, it could get in the right hands. And it could get in the right hands a lot easier than when I was a kid, you know, where you submitted your demos to, you know, record labels and stuff. And hopefully somebody got around to listening to it, or, you know, and at least gave you the decency of a rejection letter. Sometimes you didn't even get one. You know, now you have that. Now you have this medium, and when your band does get a lot of likes, you know, there are people that are at, you know, the label or whatever, where it will get their attention. I mean, you still have to have, you know, a good song. You know, you still have to be, you know, the whole package.
Yeah. So some folks say I'm crazy when I tell them this. I'm like, I don't care how many likes I have, Johnny. That don't mean nothing to me. As long as I can get some band's music, local, national, whatever, to one person and they dig it, that's all that matters to me.
But even that, like on your end of it too, you know, I could start my own radio station, right?
You sure can.
And then it takes value away from the real radio stations, you know, the good ones.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
like that. It's because it's so oversaturated. It takes value away from it, and now it's like, you know, like it's, you know, people think that they, you know, they're entitled to free music. They feel that they're entitled to film your whole show and post it on the internet because they paid for a ticket. They feel that they're entitled to this. Every concert I went to before this digital age, it said as plain as day on your ticket, no cameras, no recorders, nothing. You're not allowed to do it. If you got caught trying to bootleg the show, you got thrown out. But you knew you were running that risk.
Yep.
Now it's, you know, fuck you. I paid $25. I paid $100. I paid $150 to go see Metallica. I should be allowed to film the show. Why? You're paying for a performance. That's it. You're paying to see a performance. You know.
It's true.
That's what your ticket guarantees you. It doesn't entitle you to any other, you know, benefits. You know, you have to buy your beer, you have to buy food there, you have to buy a T-shirt.
If they got my size.
And you're not allowed to record it. It's, you know, it's intellectual property. But now that's all changed because you have something that's so easily accessible in your pocket.
I know you've been all over the place with many bands, but is there any show or moment, Johnny, that stands out more than any to you that you can recall being part of? Like, yeah, I mean, just being like, I can't believe I'm doing this shit, or these folks. I mean, anything possibly?
I mean, yeah, of course. There's always a couple. There's my whole career. My whole performing career. There's always been some. There's been a lot of moments like that for sure. To give you, for instance, the Motley Crue tour really wasn't successful for Motley Crue. A lot of people weren't coming and stuff. But for us, 3,000 people for Motley Crue is really bad. For Type O Negative to play in front of 3,000 people is unbelievable. And it's a great opportunity. And we weren't doing that. If we went to Jacksonville, Florida, we're playing in front of 12 people. We go there with Motley Crue, different story. But this, they're losing, the tour's doing bad for them, but it's still a benefit for us. And I remember Kenny and I, we've been playing together for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. We met as teenagers and stuff, and, we've just been best friends since. And I remember we were playing our first arena with Motley. And, the tour had gone on for a couple of weeks. And, we were playing like the outdoor, sheds. And so we're playing an arena. It's the first one. We're in Jacksonville, Florida. And the doors hadn't opened up yet. And Kenny and I were sitting off the front of the stage. We had just finished setting up. And I turned around and said, Kenny, I was like, look at this. I was like, it's like we're playing our first arena. And, this is what we've talked about. We've dreamed about doing this for years. And, look at here we are. Like, we're doing it tonight. This is awesome. 800 people paid to come see the show. We played our first arena, but it was empty. 800 people in an arena. It looks like the staff is just cleaning up.
What a crowd.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, oh man, this is going to be tough.
Yeah. Do we need to turn the volume down?
Does everything sound okay for you in the back?
Yeah, are we too loud?
You, yeah, the one person, I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Are we too loud? What's the deal?
Yeah. It sound okay back there?
Yeah.
Just tell the sound man who's right next to you if there's a problem. Tell him I sent you.
Yeah, come on down, folks.
Stuff like that. Like, playing some of the festivals was always like, really exciting. A lot of the stuff was like, the firsts. It was like that was the real exciting stuff. I was talking about this the other day in another interview. Like, what was your favorite part? I'm thankful, and now that I'm older and I have more responsibilities, my life is different now than it was, 25 years ago. So it's like, the fun stuff, like, my favorite stuff was when it was all new and the whole experience was new. Getting on the bus for the first time and like, going on tour and like, just trying to like, put a crater into this earth,
Yeah.
Those were the fun. That was the fun stuff. And then like, as it went on, you get more acclimated to your environment. And of course I always had fun. I always did. 'Cause, that's important to me. And especially now that I'm older, I need to, really enjoy what I'm doing. Otherwise I could just stay home and I can actually, make more money at home and stuff like that.
Sure.
With my family and, being home has more importance to it now than it did. I didn't have to be at home when I was younger. There weren't people dependent on me at home. And, it's just, it was just like all I had to do was just, playing Type O Negative. Mm-hmm. That was it. So that was that whole experience and making that transition from, being an auto mechanic to, a musician, a working musician. That was exciting, and like going to places for the first time and, and not caring. that was part of it too. I didn't care where I was because I was playing every night. And I had my beer. I was having a great time.
So,
when I got a little bit older, then I started like, maybe I should go, check out some of the sites. Being, Type O was on Roadrunner for most of, just about our entire career. And the record company was based in Holland. So when we would, before a record would come out, we'd have to go to Europe and do press, and we'd get to spend like a week in Amsterdam, or, you spend a week in Holland, I would be able to do go sightseeing and, see things instead of going to some dump club
that
has a broken toilet.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I'd be out to the pawn
So
shops.
that would be exciting. Like, like to see that and like, experience some of those things. Like, go out and have like, have lunch outdoor, outside at an outside restaurant in Portugal and stuff like that. That became, more important than, let me get as much sleep as I can because this hangover is killing me.
Yeah.
So like that was the stuff. But yeah, like the real exciting stuff was like, going on tour and playing arenas for the first time and, playing arenas. That was great.
What made you want to become a musician, though? What was that spark that sold it for you that said, that's what I want to do?
My father bringing home Kiss Alive.
Nice.
Yeah. I knew, like that's what I wanted to do. And I took some drum lessons from, the guy that lived up the block, the kid that lived up the block taught me how to play a little bit. And then I really didn't, I was like 11 years old and then, I didn't pursue it. And then a friend of mine that I used to hang out with was, I had no idea, but he was like taking guitar lessons and he played in a band. And I think I was 15 years old at the time. And he was like saying that his drummer quit or they, kicked him out of their band. And I was like, I play drums a little bit. He goes, you do? I was like, yeah, I just, I learned, a little bit. And he's like, oh, why don't you come to the studio? I'm like, studio? I had no idea about any of this stuff. And the studio was literally around the corner from my house in Brooklyn. And then I started playing with him, and that was it. And I was like, this is it. And I geared my whole life, all my life's poor choices were geared towards this. And that was it. I played, from 15 years old until, wow. I didn't play once. I didn't play for like a year when I was in my early 20s. Went through like a little, well, not a little at the time. It was, very, very big decision, whatever. I was like, well, maybe it's not in the cards for me, because I was like, I didn't go to college. I sacrificed like, any job that I had was really not going anywhere. The good jobs that I had, I quit because I couldn't play. And, I quit being a mailman. I had a job as a mailman. I was a mailman for a year, right? Now, not the best job, but it's a good job. It's a good, federal job, good benefits and, pension and retirement and all that stuff, all that shit that you don't pay attention to when you're 20 years old.
Sure. Right. Yeah.
But now you think about it when you're almost 50. Those things.
It's like, man, I'm a dumbass.
Right. I quit that job to go on tour as a drum tech for Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Mistake number 2. First one was not going to college. That was mistake number 2. And then a couple of years later, it was like, things weren't working out with the band. My girlfriend broke up with me. I had no job, no band, no nothing. And I was just sitting at home and it's like, what am I going to do? So I cut off all my hair and I got a steady job. And it's like, I was, working on cars and trying to, change things around, just change my life, change the course of my life from what it was, which was really going nowhere. Mm-hmm. And then a friend of mine got me to start playing again. I hadn't played drums for like a year. And he was like, I want you to come to the studio with me and, get together and play. I was like, all right, yeah, sure. I haven't done it in a while. Why not? And then I started playing again, and I started getting the itch again. I was like, oh, I really miss this. I miss playing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just play, whatever. There's no strings attached, nothing. Just play to have fun. And then a couple of months later, I got into Typo Negative. Sal left the band. I was friends with all the guys. We all come from the same neighborhood. Like I said, I've been friends with Kenny for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. So when Sal left, I went down for an audition. I got the audition, and that was it. And then the rest of it is, here we are. There was like a couple of instances where I guess it was whatever. I attributed, it must be an act of God. One, was like, my decision to not go to school.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever. I was like, my father, when I graduated high school, my father's like, so, what's your plans for college or whatever? I was like, I'm not going to college. He's like, you're an asshole. He was like, didn't you learn anything? And he was like, he goes, didn't you learn anything from me? He was just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. You're an asshole. And he hung up the phone. Yeah. Jeez. No kidding. And, So because I was like, oh, that's going to get in the way of my playing. I can't, go to school. I was like, I'm going to, I can't make that commitment to go to school or whatever. I'm going to, whatever. I'm going to make it. This is what I want to do.
So what about your kids if they say, Dad, I want to be a musician?
I mean, if they wanted to, I wouldn't stop them.
Right.
I mean, it depends on how passionate they are about it. You can't stop somebody. I don't see it. It's not one of those things like, where you see your kid, really, doing something, stupid, where you have the ability to stop them from doing something.
Right.
It was like, learn from what I did wrong, be smarter about it. If they really wanted to play and they really wanted to be a musician, I would try to help them, but they're not, one wanted to play bass and she didn't have any passion for it and stuff. Steve Zing from Danzig gave her a bass for Christmas and was like, okay, you pick your grades up and we'll put you in for lessons. Mm-hmm. I was teaching at a school of rock. I was like, we'll get you lessons. She's like, oh, that's great. And blah, blah, blah. Thank you. She wasn't really pulling her grades up to where they should be. And I would ask her, I'm like, how's the bass playing going? She's like, well, I'm waiting for lessons. It's like, what? Like, you're waiting for lessons? What are you waiting for? You have a bass in your bedroom, She was like, well, I'm waiting to take lessons. I was like, you don't want to do this. She was like, oh, thanks for the show of support. I was like, you know what? I said, if you really were passionate about this and this is what you wanted to do, your fingers would be bleeding right now because you wouldn't be able to put the bass down, with all the things that are available to you, like, YouTube and stuff like that, there's all kinds of videos online, there's all kinds of things available to you online where you could learn how to do this.
Yep.
And if you were really passionate about it, you would be doing that. You wouldn't be waiting for me or your mother to say, all right, come on, we're going to take you to school.
You're right. It's at the tip of their fingers, man. YouTube especially. Yeah. It's right there.
Right? Yeah. I mean, forget it. If I had that when I was a kid, to be able to try to figure out a song and, I could just go on, just do that instead of slowing the records down with my fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Listening to it over and over going, oh, how did that go? And... all that stuff, all those things, a lot of that is taken out of the equation now. You don't have to work that hard to figure something out. It's easier. And if you're not putting that kind of effort in, just to even look at a video to figure it out, you're not really interested. And that's not I'm not holding that against her. I'm not upset at her for that.
Right.
I want her to find, I want my kids to find their thing that they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to find that. So you try to introduce them to things or whatever, and, they'll find things, whatever, through their friends and their social groups or, at school. And I want them to find something that, makes them, passionate besides somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't want them to invest their whole lives into, a husband. I want them to be able to do their own thing and something that they can do themselves and for them to be proud of it and they can, accomplish something, and create something and, something that makes them proud. So I just want them to find that. And I want them to find it hopefully at a younger age instead of something when, just going through life with no direction or sense of, purpose or,
I just like to say,
for better or worse, it was playing. That was it. That's where I when I'm behind a kit, that's where I feel my most comfortable, my most natural.
I just like to say, as a fan of yours, just as a drummer, man, in your music with typo and everything, thank you as a fan first and foremost.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now here it is, 2017. We're still talking about it.
Yeah, damn right. So, Silvertomb, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Keep in touch.
We just started doing the whole social media thing. We got a Facebook page up. We got Instagram now, and everyone in the band has been interacting. And really, we're just taking baby steps with getting the name out there, and trying to make a connection with the people that are familiar with some of us already.
Before
just letting them know that hey, we got something else going on now. It's been a while, but we have something new, and it'd be cool if you could give it a listen.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
How you doing? This is Johnny Kelly from Silvertomb, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem right now.
Everybody stick around. We got some great interviews coming up, and you only got some. Well, shit, I screwed that up. Wrong. Everybody stick around. We got some great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. You're wrong, Johnny Kelly.
Hey.
Thank you for doing the interview, man.
Man, thank you. I had a really good time.